Welcome to Natality. I'm a perinatal psychotherapist and I work with what happens in the mind when you are becoming a mother. In my practice, I often work with women who need to go back to their birth experience and look at what it left behind, in how they relate to their own body, in how they relate to their child, in how they see themselves as mothers, and in how they feel as women, including sexually. What happened in that delivery room stayed. And that's exactly why I want to talk today about why it matters so much. Last time, I talked about how emotions shape the course of natural birth and how fear, imaginings, and a sense of safety together create the conditions for an optimal birth state. And today, I want to look at the structural changes in the brain that lie behind all of this and what they might mean in practice. Because these changes make you deeply sensitive to signals from your own body, to signals from your baby, and actually to everything that builds connection. And at the same time, and I will come back to this, that same openness means that certain experiences go in deeper than usual and stay. In pregnancy, you might notice it's harder to engage with everyday things with the same focus, like work or planning things that used to come easily. That's not a coincidence, and it's not something to push through. It's a human nature with all its mechanisms aligned so that you can gradually step back from ordinary life and turn inward toward your body's signals, toward what's coming. Because your brain shifts into a different mode during pregnancy. And at the same time, something is happening in your mind too. New ways of understanding are forming, and old patterns, old relationships, and assumptions are being reworked. So, what happens in the brain during pregnancy? Well, pregnancy is one of the most intense periods of neuroplasticity in a human life, comparable to adolescence. The brain doesn't just function differently, it changes structurally. Research by Coexema and Carmona from 2017 showed that the first-time mothers' gray matter volume decreases, mainly in areas involved in social cognition, such as empathy, reading intentions, recognizing other people's emotional states. And although this involves a reduction, it's not a bad process. It's a process of specialization called synaptic pruning, the same mechanism that happens in the teenage brain. So in pregnancy, it serves attunement. It makes a deeper, faster bond possible. The brain reorganizes in exactly the areas that will matter most in the relationship with the newborn, as if it's literally making room, sharpening the structures that will help you understand a baby who can't yet speak, who communicates through intense emotional states and through crying. So what's striking in these changes? It's that they appear to be present only in mothers, not in fathers, not in women who hadn't been pregnant. And they persisted for at least 2 years after birth, linked to the quality of the mother-child bond. So how do these changes affect how you experience pregnancy and birth? Well, this state of reorganization has real consequences, and it's worth naming them clearly. In pregnancy, you experience things differently. What used to feel manageable, held at a certain distance by your natural defenses, now feels different. Things land more directly, as if a protective layer is thinner. and they register more deeply. A partner's words, a tone of a midwife's voice, the atmosphere in a consulting room all carry a different weight now. Our natural defenses are more permeable at this time, and there is a reason for that. It allows for closer contact with what's bodily, with the place where first attachment begins and where the necessary separation of birth will happen. And it allows for a reorganization of identity. So this pruning at the neurological level and this softening of natural barriers at the psychological level are not accidents. They're preparation. The reorganization that begins in pregnancy reaches its peak during birth. And afterwards, rebuilding begins. The quality of that rebuilding is inseparable from the birth experience itself and from the feelings with which it was recorded in your mind. We humans, unlike other mammals, don't simply respond to the world around us. We interpret it through our own inner world. We give it meaning. And that's why this particular sensitivity to relational experience, which can be such a gift for building a bond with your baby, also means that what gets written into your mind at this time goes deep. You're forming like a new internal map of relationship, of what you can expect from others, whether it's safe to be open, whether trust is possible. And these experiences become a part of who you are as a mother. And during birth itself, in the state of birthing consciousness, some things may reach you with great intensity, others barely at all. Your brain in this mode filters differently. And that's why what happens in the delivery room, what's said, in what tone, by whom, can become part of the newly forming psychological structure of who you are becoming as a mother. Women remember their time in delivery room for years, whether someone responded to their needs, whether they felt heard and seen, whether they were treated as a person, not just a body giving birth, because at that moment, their mind was in a state of deep openness and receptivity, as was their body. And those experiences became part of the structure of who they are becoming as mothers. And if words charged with difficult feelings can embed themselves so deeply, the same is true in other direction. When you receive care, when you have the experience of being treated as someone who matters. So what does the latest research tell us? The largest longitudinal study in this field to date by Paternina Dia and Martinez Garcia with Carmona's team, published in 2024 following 110 first-time mothers, produced a finding I think it's particularly important when it comes to thinking about birth. Well, women who gave birth physiologically showed a different trajectory of brain changes than women who gave birth by planned cesarean section. And attention, not better, not worse, different, which suggests that the process of birth itself, this physical, hormonal, emotional passage, activates a distinct neuroplastic mechanism. That birth isn't just the route through which a baby comes into the world. It's an experience that changes the brain, and with it, your identity, in a very real way. These findings still need further research, but the direction is clear. Sometimes after birth, you might say, I don't remember parts of the labor. I was somewhere else. I don't know how it passed. And at the same time, you can say, I remember exactly what the midwife said when she came into the room. Or, I remember that nobody told me what was happening when I needed them to. I was very frightened. So what this means, your brain in a state of reorganization registers differently. Some things it releases, others it records more deeply. And that's what makes the quality of those who are present matter in ways that aren't immediately obvious, but that stay with you. So let us think, what supports birthing consciousness and what stays? Well, if we understand that during birth, you're in a state of deep psychological reorganization, that your sensitivity to relational experiences is especially heightened at this time, and that what happens between you and another person gets recorded without the usual filtering, then the environment you're in is not neutral background. It's the ground where new patterns are forming. Patterns of trust in the world. Patterns of whether it's possible to be vulnerable and feel safe at the same time. Whether you can ask for help and actually receive it. So what supports birthing consciousness is above all feeling seen. Feeling that that what you're experiencing matters, that your body and your rhythm are respected, that the words that reach you come with care, not with judgment. These patterns stay. And they don't stay only in you, they're carried forward into how you will be present with your child. How much psychological space you will have for your baby after birth, well, depends partly on how much space you yourself will need to process your own birth experience. So that processing always takes psychological energy because, well, you're in the middle of building yourself. But if there's been some wounding, naturally more energy will go into working through it. And that's why it matters to know what to expect, what a birth experience can look like and feel like, and how you can increase your sense of safety by actively looking for a familiar environment, the one you know, where the people caring for you can get to know you and you can get to know them. A place that feels less unknown. The quality of how you are accompanied during birth has significance that reaches far beyond the delivery room. Your brain in pregnancy and during birth is in a state of deep reorganization. That reorganization sharpens and retunes it, making it more open to connection with your baby, more attuned to signals from your body and from the people around you. That same openness means that what enters during this time goes deeper and stays. You might say it becomes experiences held in your mind, most often as very specific thoughts about who you are and what kind of person you are. Your emotions are not the backdrop to birth, they're part of it. And that's not a weakness, it's a sign that the process is unfolding as it should. So please be gentle with yourself. In the next episode, we will look at the role of the person who accompanies you during birth and the very specific ways in which their presence shapes the course of psychological and physiological birth. That's all for today. See you next time.